Hello everyone, this is Margarita with CityGal Papeterie. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back. I have had a few requests for cluster embellishments, so I'm going to be making some Christmas themed cluster embellishments in this video. I have some scraps left over from a previous project, and then I like to use this little plastic container that I took from my cookies, from the cookie package. And I keep some scraps in here and other things that I've been using and have left over. And I'm going to be using these to create my embellishments. So I like to start by kind of spreading out, sorry guys, by spreading out all of the items that I am going to consider using. And it's been a while since I've made any embellishments, so I kind of need to get a feel for it again. So I just start playing with what I have here in front of me, putting things together, trying to see what goes together, what doesn't go together. And then like for this first one, I had this vellum circle left over from something, and then that other pattern paper circle from this like label packet. And once I like more or less my cluster, I staple it together. You could also glue it together, or you could use glue dots or sew it, whatever your preference is. And then I move on to the next one. So this is already the next cluster. I folded up this little banner in a little ruffle shape, and then I put it through my sewing machine. And then I just start adding other elements that are in front of me until I get the right feel that I like. I grabbed that little polka dotted Christmas tree, put it in the back, and now I'm just trying to see what else I can add to this. I think I kept these to like 3 or 4 pieces each. So right now I'm looking for a sentiment or something that I can put a sentiment on. I do like adding a sentiment to my embellishments because I'll show you later on how I use them, which has been another request. I get a lot of questions about like how do you use these embellishments or clusters because they're so much fun to make, but then you don't want to store them forever. You want to be able to use them with your projects. So I'll give you some ideas in a little while on how I use some of my embellishments. So once I found a sentiment that I'm happy with, I staple that one in place as well. And as I'm completing them, I set them aside, but I do tend to return to them and add more things to them later on, depending on what I find in my little pile. If I find something that might match with one that I just put together, then I'll just add an element to it. So here I'm working on the next one. I had that die cut piece. And then I grabbed this shape scissors, like I forget what you call these, but it has a zigzag shape. And then I cut this little ticket out, and I'm adding that to there as well. I swap out my strip of paper because I didn't want it to have too much. I didn't want it to have too much green. You will hear my toddler behind me. He is trying to keep himself occupied. And again, once I have a little cluster that I'm happy with, I will grab a stapler and staple them together. I do sometimes glue them in place. It really depends on my mood or what I have in front of me. These I think are all stapled for the most part. So set that one aside, and now I start working on the next one. Here's another piece of die cut paper, a craft paper that I also embossed on. And I will start embellishing that. Here I'm making another little ruffled strip of paper, and I'll put that through my sewing machine. I love these. They're super cute, and I think they add a nice touch of texture to projects. And then for that little scrap strip of paper, I'm going to just cut off the sides at an angle. And in that way, it gives it some interest. And now I'm looking for a sentiment piece for this one. And I cut this out. It says Season's Greetings, and I'm going to cluster that together and then staple it once I am happy with it. And that's that one. And now moving on to the next one, I have these circles that came with that label set. And again, I just start grabbing some pieces, putting them together, seeing how they look, all clustered. And then I find a sentiment, place it where I want. Kind of looks like he's holding a little flag or a banner. And I will staple that in place. For this one, I do add a little glue because the piece with the Santa is barely hanging on with the staple. So I just add a little glue to that to keep it all together. And moving on to the next one, I punched this scallop edge on this piece of scrap paper. And now I'm looking for a strip to layer it with. Yeah, here I'm just trying to get ideas. I was thinking of cutting out that branch, but I didn't know how that was going to look. So I ended up changing my mind. And then I find this other piece. I do cut it down because I felt like it was just too big. But yeah, the second I have that sentiment piece, I go ahead and trim down my piece of paper by just tearing the edges. And that way I shrink it just a little bit. I change the orientation and put it together. And then I'm going to staple that in place as well. I think I added one more little piece of, yeah, just a random piece of paper that had some lettering on it. Just to add some detail and some more color. And I'm still looking around to see if I can find anything else to add. But I settle with what I have. I've got a funky stapler, so I've got to, beat it to submission so it can work every now and then. And now I'm moving on to the next one. I grab this tag and then another piece of scrap paper. I decide to cut some fishtail banners off of it. And then when I flipped it over, I kind of like the other side better, the mint side with the florals on it. I like that side better, so I flip my paper over. And now for the top of the tag, I'm gonna just use a strip of paper and I cut it like a ribbon, and I will be stapling that to the top of my tag. I hope you guys can hear me well. I feel like I'm competing with my toddler. He's pretending with GI Joes. He's really into that right now, so he's got a lot of imagination going on. Anyway, at this moment I realized that I really wanted to add some doilies to some of these. So I grab a doily. These are doilies you can find in any baking section pretty much. They're pretty inexpensive actually, and you get a ton of them in a pack. So once I grab my doily, I put it behind, and now I'm looking for my sentiment piece. And I find this little tag, and since the candy cane has a bow, I decide to add a brad. I'm attaching the little flag with a brad. And I don't know about you guys, but brads can really tear up my nails and my fingers sometimes. So I really like having that brad setting tool. It's by We Are Memory Keepers, and it really comes in handy. It also pokes the hole, but sometimes the brads can make their own hole with no problem. All right, I'm moving on to the next one. For this one, I grabbed this little tree tag and a piece of scrap paper. I switched my Christmas tree to this other Christmas tree. I believe this Christmas tree came from my pen pal in a project, and I think it fell off. I'm not sure, but it's so cute. I kept it, of course. So I'm gonna add another ruffled little banner to this cluster. Put that through my sewing machine, and now I'm looking for the sentiment piece. And I find this ornament, which I think is perfect because, it's a Christmas tree. I changed the orientation of the banner, I think. Maybe not. Here I am adding a doily to the back. I do keep the circle punch out because it adds support for the doily. The doily is very flimsy. So in that way the cardstock in the background will keep it nice and like steady. And then I realized I had these snowflakes hanging around, these big snowflakes. So I decided to go back to the ones I previously made and see where I can add them. So I add one to this candy cane tag cluster. And because I've already used my stapler, I'm just gluing these in place. And then I add a green one to this cluster. I also added a strip of like music paper. So there's that one. And I do eventually add doilies to all of them. And here's the last snowflake that I have here. I'm gonna just glue it in place. And then yeah, I go and grab my doilies and I add a doily to all of them. And this is what they look like. I made 8 large cluster embellishments. Here's the first one with the Christmas tree, the little sewn banner, the snowflake. So cute. I love how all the colors coordinate with each other. This one with the embossed paper in the back has a lot of texture. This one has lots of pretty layers and coordinating colors. This one adds a nice sentiment to a project. This one with the little Santa. I kind of wanted to add some stitching to that, but it's okay how it is. And another Santa. The tag one says Happy Holidays. I'm really happy I added the snowflake in the background. I like how it looks. And then 'tis the season to be jolly. There's your ticket to Jollyville. So now I'm going to show you how I use these embellishments. I'm going to just spread them out so I have some space. And the first way I love to use my embellishments is in my journals. This is my December daily from this year that I've been working in. I'm already behind, but I actually I choose one to add to this layout. And at first I thought that It's Christmas was okay there, but I end up deciding on Oh What Fun, since the image has to do with my son's Christmas concert at school. And yeah, so I would just probably add a background piece to this, or some note paper to write my journaling in, and that would be the title for my page. So that is one way to use these embellishments. You could also use them in a mini album. Another way to use them are in cards. I do definitely like to use them in cards as well. So here I'm just adhering a background mat onto a card base, and then I'm gonna pick one of the clusters and just put it on top, and that is the focal point of my card. It's got layers, it's got textures, it's got dimension, and I think it makes a really pretty card. So I'm just adhering that right onto the card front. And that is one other way of using cluster embellishments. A third way of using these embellishments would be in scrapbooking layouts. So I'm using this photo as an example. I'm not actually going to scrap this, but just to show you guys how I would use a cluster embellishment in a layout. Here I've chosen a cluster and a photo and a background that coordinates. And then I just start adding elements. So here's lettering piece. Here's an envelope to just kind of add some detail. And then I'm going to add a background. And, this is how I would build a layout for a photo. And then I've got another little cluster in the bottom corner, and then at the top I'd probably put a title or something like that. So this is just an example of a way that you could use these cluster embellishments in a scrapbook layout. Another way that you could use these cluster embellishments are to embellish a tag. So here I'm cutting out this large tag. And then I'm going to pick a cluster. And well, I think I changed this one because that cluster has a tag. And I thought it looked weird. You have a tag on another tag. I mean, hey, you can put that if you want to, because you do what you want. But I ended up changing it. And I would totally put this on a gift bag, you know, hang it on a gift bag handle, or you can tape it to the top of a wrapped gift. You know, you can use like a very simple patterned craft paper gift wrap, and then some double-sided tape, and like put this right on the top of your present. I think that would look super cute. I added some twine to the tag, and I'm just gonna even out those strings. And yeah, I think that would look really cute on a gift or in an album or any other way that you would use the cluster embellishments. It just adds more detail to it. Yeah, and that's gonna be it. I hope you guys like that. It's been a while that I haven't made any cluster embellishments, so this was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, I didn't have a lot of time to create more, or I would have kept going. But yeah, if you have any questions, please leave that in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys in the next video.